11 minutes past 8 a.m. as we begin the show looking at Al Aqsa Week. And it is one of the biggest weeks ever. And we've learned about 50 countries participating in Al Aqsa Week. And from time to time, we need to be reminded about what is taking place in Al Quds and in Jerusalem, and also Masjid Al Aqsa, which has been pretty much central to the entire Zionist occupation, the brutal occupation of Masjid al-Aqsa. We know what has been taking place in Gaza, in the West Bank, and also Jerusalem. And recently we've seen what has happened in East Jerusalem, Sheikh al-Jarrah, and some of the other neighborhoods. But Al-Aqsa always under the spotlight. We've seen the brutality of the Israeli security forces manifest itself in Masjid al-Aqsa as well. And observing Masjid al-Aqsa, many organizations right across the entire world. And we are inspired by the hashtag Love Aqsa. And this morning, we're talking with some of the Palestine solidarity organizations in South Africa. And up front, we are going to be joined now by spokesperson for Africa for Palestine, Tisetso Mokhama. Tisetso, good morning to you. And as always, we thank you. We appreciate you taking time out and talking to us.
No, thank you for having me, and we appreciate the opportunity to engage with you and your listeners from time to time.
Yes, now from time to time, obviously, we've got various campaigns as far as showing our support and solidarity for Palestine goes, and extremely relevant. We've seen Israel Apartheid Week, and also now this initiative we're talking about Aqsa Week. Now, we know Aqsa is of huge spiritual significance to Muslims right across the entire world, but also looking at also Jerusalem itself, not only for Muslims, but for Christians as well. And observing a week like this is extremely important to provide us with constant reminders of the injustices and the oppression that still continues and has been continuing for well over 70 years, so.
No, for sure. There's no question that Al-Aqsa has become, in many ways, the last front line of the Palestinian struggle, and in that context, we can see Israel's push really to liquidate the Palestinian resistance through a full-scale invasion of Al-Aqsa. And so Al-Aqsa is in that context also very, very important, not only as a site of struggle, but also, of course, as a religious site and a cultural, heritage of the Palestinian people in particular, but Muslims in general. Now, we see a renewed onslaught, as we have seen last year during the altercations that happened, and of course Israeli brutality that took place at Al-Aqsa last year, with their operations starting in Sheikh Jarrah. And so I think the call really is to all Muslims around the world, but Muslims in particular, but people from all faiths, and walks of life across the world, to rally around Al-Aqsa, to uphold Al-Aqsa as a beacon of peace and a beacon of unity, and of course a beacon of support for the ongoing occupation and what is now generally accepted, bringing an end to what is essentially an apartheid regime in Israel.
Yes, no, we've seen right across the world, and we've seen over 50 countries who are embracing this campaign on Aqsa Week and Love Aqsa as well. And just looking at Africa for Palestine, and I'm sure looking at the African continent as well, in terms of embracing this week. And it's not only about embracing it and showing support, but also in terms of providing information, in terms of educating people, because this is extremely important, and it's an important reminder to each and all of us when we have events like these, when we have occasions like this, to continue keeping ourselves informed so that we can truly appreciate the injustices against the people of Palestine, and also, like you mentioned, Al-Aqsa being the last frontier.
No, no, absolutely. I mean, we have engaged with our partners, across the African continent, from Zambia in Southern Africa to Kenya in East Africa and elsewhere. And indeed, there's a lot of advocacy that is happening around Al-Aqsa, precisely because Al-Aqsa is such an important site for all the reasons that I've adumbrated. The African continent clearly is uniting around the Palestinian question, and of course, for many Muslims in particular, the importance of Al-Aqsa. And so the reversal of what we have seen, for instance, with the African Union recently, when they've decided, to at least for the moment freeze Israel's participation within the AU until this matter has been resolved at the next summit of the head of state, is an important, achievement, albeit at least for the moment temporary. But it is indeed in part because Muslims, in particular around the African continent, are indeed waking up to what is happening, as of course as being as symbolized through the invasions of Al-Aqsa that we have seen, in the last few decades. And so, in that context, this day really symbolizes a push for advocacy and mobilization and education, around the world, and really informing people about what is happening outside, of course, and indeed combating the, Israeli Hasbara and Western propaganda in this regard.
Yes, and also one needs to appreciate the fact that a few years ago, one of the prominent Palestinian clerics, Sheikh Raed Salah, had coined the phrase Al-Aqsa in danger. Now, this was a few years ago, and we see and we can understand why Al-Aqsa is in danger and why that phrase was coined a few years ago, because we've seen over the years, we've seen the brutality of the Zionist security apparatus manifest itself in Al-Aqsa. We've seen storming of Masjid Al-Aqsa over and over again. And at the same time, when one looks at the draconian laws in terms of preventing people, and this is a holy site. And we see just so much violence manifesting itself with the Israeli security apparatus, etc.
No, for sure. And I mean, look, this is what the apartheid regimes do. What they seek to achieve really is to liquidate, the symbols of resistance, the unifying symbols of culture, and of course, liquidate the struggle through those means. And so, in that context, Al-Aqsa is also undergoing that very same onslaught that really seeks to, Zionize and Judaize Al-Aqsa, and so that must be resisted at all costs. Having said that, it's incumbent upon the international community, but it is clear that governments, are failing, the Palestinian struggle, are failing Palestinian aspirations. And so it is important that we therefore mobilize, and that Al-Aqsa serves as a center point for mobilizing civil society across the globe, to resist Israeli occupation, and of course the further invasions on Al-Aqsa, of course, which, as I said, is such a crucial site, not only for religious reasons, but is the center of cultural life, for Palestinians and Arabs in general, and of course the Muslim faith, as it is such an important site, religious site.
Yes, and just finally, Tisetso, the Palestinians must never ever feel that they are left on their own, and that is the reason why they require support. We know that this is a huge responsibility on the part of the Palestinians to protect Aqsa. And they've done it over and over again, men, women, children. And, they've been persistent in their protection of Aqsa at all costs, at cost to their lives, blood, sweat, and tears. They've just made so many sacrifices. So it's so important that we, in observing this week, we need to make it absolutely clear to the Palestinians that you are not alone. We are there to support you.
No, absolutely. And it is not a coincidence that, our own founding father, Madiba, coined the phrase that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinians. It is really to communicate the inextricability of human freedom, that borders between South Africa and Palestine and other borders, do not, divide people's experiences, that this is an interconnected world. This was nowhere near, really aptly, explained by Jose Marti when he said that one man must feel on his own cheek the blow dealt against the cheek of another. And so as long as Palestinians are not free, the rest of the world, and indeed South Africans, will not be fully free. Our own freedom is linked in an inextricable way to the freedom of the Palestinian people. And so Palestinians, here for the past 70 years, really, protect Al-Aqsa really with their own bodies. And so it behoves the rest of us to join them, albeit, in our various countries, in to defend Al-Aqsa. As I said, Al-Aqsa represents, the very resistance of the Palestinian people against a brutal occupation that has started in 1948.
Well, Tisetso, thank you very much for that, and we do appreciate you taking time out this morning, talking to us here on News and Views on Salam Media on this all-important topic of Aqsa Week. We wish you all the best, and please keep safe and take care. Tisetso Makama, spokesperson for Africa for Palestine. We're going to go for a break. We come back. We'll be joined by the PSC's Professor Yusuf Chikte.
Free Palestine, tomorrow will be free. Mother, no father to wipe away my tears. That's why I will cry. I feel scared, but I won't show my fears. I keep my head high, deep in my heart. I never have any doubt that Palestine tomorrow will be free. Palestine, tomorrow will be free. I saw those rockets and bombs shining in the sky, like drops of rain in the sun's light, taking away everyone that's in my heart, destroying my dreams in a blink of an eye. What happened to our human rights? What happened to...
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
The time is just gone 8:26 a.m. We continue with the show this morning, and we stay with the major part of the show this morning. We are talking about Aqsa Week. We're talking about hashtag Love Aqsa, and this is being observed from participants right across well over 50 countries. And we are observing Aqsa Week here in South Africa. We're talking to the various Palestine solidarity organizations. And right now we're going through to be joined by a member of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, the PSC. We're joined by Professor Yusuf Chicktay. Professor Yusuf, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm doing very well. And yourself, Prof?
Very good, thank you. Very good. It's good to hear such a vibrant voice so early in the morning and keeping us all on our toes so far, so early. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah, in fact, we are kind. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is kind to us. We are blessed. Professor Yusuf, let's talk about Aqsa, and this is extremely relevant at this point in time. We are in the month of Rajab, and we know about Isra and Miraj, and also it's coming at a very, very timely week where we're talking about the love for Aqsa and also observing the Aqsa Week. Just looking at it from the PSC's perspective in terms of this week and what it actually means to the organizations and also for people right across the entire world who have this closeness to Masjid al-Aqsa.
Yeah, so one of the things, so thank you firstly for the opportunity to speak. Al-Aqsa Week is going to be proceed. Well, we should celebrate Al-Aqsa and defend Al-Aqsa and protect Al-Aqsa and the values that it stands for in terms of a vision of a just society, in terms of a vision of equality, in terms of standing out as a beacon for us not to forget what is happening to the Palestinian people. And we in Cape Town are quite busy precisely with such an activity, and I thought I'd maybe share some of those thoughts with you. The intention or the deliberate campaign to rename Al-Aqsa, to redefine it, and to redraw it, its architecture and its framing, that has been underway now for quite a while. If you look at the what is taking place in Sheikh Jarrah in Salwa, with the demolitions, the dispossessions in what is called East Jerusalem. But Al-Aqsa is in the whole of Jerusalem. It stands for the whole of Jerusalem. And when we speak of Al-Aqsa and the whole of Jerusalem in terms of a unity, in terms of an integrity, we speak of the whole of Palestine as a single, united and undivided place, above the ground, below the ground, around itself also. And those words that I've mentioned have a lot of meaning. But tonight I want to just share with you something that is happening in Cape Town, and it has relevance to Al-Aqsa. You know, we had Muna Al-Kurt here about 7 or 8 months ago. And she is from Sheikh Jarrah, from Jerusalem, within walking, not too far from Al-Aqsa. And we had a meeting where we said we're linking that she needs to speak on from District 6 to Sheikh, from District 6 to Sheikh Jarrah, which is in Al-Aqsa. We resist to exist. So Al-Aqsa, the struggles that they have there is the struggles that we have here also. Muna Al-Kurt indicated and gave us indications of the daily demolitions, the homelessness that the Palestinians are faced with, being shifted in exile and or to the margins of the city. And what we have here now in Cape Town is attempts by artists and painters, the Baz Art Group, exactly to do in District 6, to paint a vision of their colonial thinking, which we have vociferously rebuffed. I don't know whether you heard of it, but we are in the midst of an international public arts festival, and this organization, Baz Art, wanted to paint pictures on the murals as they've done previously. And they were Israeli funded, and we blocked them for that, because we want to isolate apartheid Israel. And what is happening in Palestine is precise in apartheid Israel is something that it's exactly what we don't. What we fight for as we stand for Al-Aqsa. So I don't know whether you would be interested in a little bit of the International Public Arts Festival, the methods that they use to erase the memory of the city, and the methods that they use in their attempts to recolonize the place, similar to what they use, the backing of the Israeli embassy. And for us, to fight for Al-Aqsa is to fight for Palestinian rights and to fight for justice in this part of the world here as well. They try to take some groups to court here because they want to stop us remembering Al-Aqsa, and they want us to stop us not disassociating ourselves from Israel, not to accept any funding, because there is the cultural and academic boycott around which we are pursuing, and we've been in quite a battle. In fact, we met with Baz Art, with the city, with the Western and the Western Cape overlords, and in which we said in no uncertain terms that we don't want them to paint on the murals in Al-Aqsa, not in Al-Aqsa, in Cape Town. Because I think it outwashes and whitewashes the struggle of the Palestinians. It outwashes the issues, the Palestinian suffering that they have, and it outwashes the brutality which is taking place. And as I look at that picture, the despoiling of Al-Aqsa through the militarization of it is something, it's an antithesis of what Al-Aqsa should mean. So it is that the Al-Aqsa, we also want to remember the tolerance of Al-Aqsa. The late Anwar Nagia has commissioned 12 stations of the cross, of the cross of Nabi Isa, of Christ, and we would like to display that later in the year during or just after Israeli Apartheid Week. For us, Al-Aqsa, the values and the vision since the companions of the Prophet came there, Umar, and he stood at the gate and he was in awe at the sight. And we want to restore peace to the region, and the only way in which we're going to restore peace is to bring justice to Al-Aqsa. And the only way we're going to bring justice to Al-Aqsa is if we dismantle the apartheid in which Al-Aqsa is gripped through the presence of the Israelis. So with resistance, Al-Aqsa reminds us to resist, that we must fight, that we must defend it, and defend it not only in that precinct, but defend injustices all across the world. But I just want to come back again to the mural issue in Cape Town. And so we have a big battle in front of us, where we met Baz Art, trying, as I said, to redefine the city, as they're trying to do in Jerusalem as well, where Al-Aqsa is located, through gentrifying the place. Through the painting and the prices of the goods and of housing increases, there is a deliberate attempt also to remove people from the area, and that is something that we are resisting. So they are funded by the Israeli embassy, as I've said, and now the great news is that, sometimes you think nothing happens. But then in our battles with them, we resisted lawfare, or the organizations associated with us resisted lawfare, because they were trying to quieten us, to muzzle us, to prevent us from speaking what we against the Israeli support that they are being provided. We resisted that, and now they have agreed that they will give the money which are received from Israel, and they'll give it back. But we're still not happy with it, because we want them it's not only a question of money. We want them to embrace the values of equality, of justice, of freedom, not only for all of us. And they need to condemn Israeli apartheid. And during the Al-Aqsa week, let us have a vision, and let us make it our campaign that we will not only defend it, but we will strive to ensure that apartheid is dismantled in Al-Aqsa and its environments. We must try to ensure that we isolate apartheid Israel, and we must try to ensure that we offer the citizens of Jerusalem, the Musallis of Al-Aqsa, and the people identifying with it, that they continue to have access to it, that they continue to have all the benefits of a world civilization in terms of safety, security, shelter, and to live in peace and harmony. To live in peace and harmony in Al-Aqsa is incompatible with a Zionist presence. So we must ensure that we cleanse Al-Aqsa of this Zionist presence, and we must make every effort to restore it in terms of its name, the City of Peace. Now, there can be no peace if it's there or here, if we are surrounded by poverty all the time. Inayat, I don't know whether you want to ask.
Prof, no, in fact, unfortunately, Prof, we have run out of time. I think, as you observe Aqsa Week, there's just so much more we can unpack. But inshallah, we definitely will call on you, because I think there's still a lot more in terms of what is happening locally and the link. And as you mentioned, the mural, we're talking about District 6, but I think that requires a lot more in-depth discussion. Unfortunately, Prof, we don't have the time now, but we have run out of time, because we're talking to a number of organizations this morning on this subject of Aqsa Week and the love for Aqsa. So for now, we thank you. We say Jazakallah to you, shukran for your time. And inshallah, looking forward to engaging with you once again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam. You are for your kind words. Thank you. All the best.
Professor Yusuf Chikte, member of the PSC, with us this morning. We're going to go for a quick break. We're going to join by Nazim Adam, the PSA, this morning, talking about Aqsa Week.
Nasiri Products is your one-stop health shop. Fresh dates directly from Medina Al Munawwara, available for Ramadan and all year long. We're also stockists of nuts, honey, figs, pure olive oil, oats mixed with dates and nuts, and other varieties of healthy food products in store. Contact us on 011 075 5770 or WhatsApp us on 073 565 9355. Visit our website at www.nasiriproduct.co.za. We are located in Fordsburg, 1792 Albertina Sisulu Road, opposite Shan Spices. Nasiri Products.
Did you know that through SANZAF, you can provide a meal to an individual for only 12 Rand? By committing to a monthly contribution, you can assist us in reaching out to more communities and deserving individuals. A once-off donation will also be highly appreciated in helping us achieve our monthly target. For more information, call us on 011 834 6046. SANZAF, changing lives through development and relief.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
The time is just gone 20 minutes to 9 a.m. We continue with the show this morning. We continue talking about the biggest Aqsa Week yet, and observed in well over 50 countries under the hashtag Love Aqsa. And we are talking to the local Palestine solidarity organizations. And this morning, we are joined by the PSA's coordinator affiliated to the SAPDS coalition. We're talking with Nazim Adam. Nazim, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, I think we lost Nazim Adam. We're going to try and get hold of Nazim Adam once again, but one cannot overemphasize enough the importance of this week. And as we have been talking with Africa for Palestine and also the PSC and also Professor Yusuf Chikte made it extremely relevant that why it is so important for us to be united in purpose as far as Aqsa Week is concerned and in observing Aqsa Week. I see Nazim Adam is on. Nazim, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Always good to be with you, Inayat, and the guests of Salam Media.
Yes, Jazakallah to you for joining us now. We are talking Aqsa Week. We know that it's a big event right across the entire world. Well over 50 countries have embraced in observing Aqsa Week under the hashtag Love Aqsa. And just looking at it from the PSA's perspective, once again, a reminder of the injustices that are taking place in Palestine in more ways than one. And also, Nazim, looking at the struggle or united in the struggle for a free Palestine. Aqsa is one of them as well. And earlier on, we spoke to someone who mentioned this is now the last frontier, that Israel, in terms of the resistance, we know what has happened in Gaza, in the West Bank, in Jerusalem, but Aqsa always under the spotlight and under the radar. Nazim?
Sorry, Inayat, I think the network just dropped here. I didn't get that question.
I'm just talking about the importance of observing the Aqsa Week. I think just looking at it from the PSA's perspective, just how important is this week? What does it mean for the PSA? Yes, I think we are having a problem. We're going to have to try and get hold of Nazim Adam on a better line. He has got network issues, but we will continue trying to get hold of Nazim Adam. We still have got later on in the program linked to this whole subject of Palestine. We're talking about Israel. We're talking about Amnesty International's report on Israel's apartheid against Palestine. So at around 9:50, we will be talking with Dr. Qureisha Suleiman. We're also talking about Palestine this morning, where we'll be talking about Gaza, the Rebuilding Gaza campaign with Islamic Relief South Africa. So the show almost entirely focused or dedicated to Palestine. We have got some talk coming through with regard to the budget and the Crime Talk weekly edition. But unfortunately, we could not get hold of Nazim Adam, and we will try and see if we can't get him at a later time this morning. We're going to go for an ad break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by Imtiaz Sayed, chairperson of eThekwini Secure.